Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Gabbing About Stories. I'm Kitty Bucholtz, author, book coach, podcaster, and newly crazy woman in menopause. My co host is the fabulous and funny Jill Bandemer, casting director and writer in Los Angeles, and a self proclaimed quirky single gal living her best, blissfully clueless life. Hey, Jill, here we are.
Hey, we're doing it.
We're doing it. So you had this idea, and for probably months now, maybe a year. I don't know when you first told me about the idea. We should do a podcast. I'm like, Jill, nobody wants to watch us and listen to us be us. And you're like, no, we're hysterical.
We are. And yes, they do.
Time will tell.
No, time will tell. But I think we're always talking. We're always talking,
Yeah,
It's like we're Midwestern gals. We've lots to say.
we really do. I do think it might have something to do with growing up in the Midwest. And also, I almost said I'm an only child. I'm not an only child. I this is why you and I are always laughing at each other because we say ridiculous things.
We're like, that's not true. Where did that come from? Oh, it
Why?
might be menopause. It might have been menopause got in my head.
Either that or I didn't know that Kitty lies when she's like in her podcaster hat.
It
Oh,
happens where you're like, that's not true. What am I saying? What just came out of my mouth?
oh my gosh. And that's one of the things that you and I were saying that we wanted to talk about. First of all, I was totally, completely, 100% blindsided by menopause. My sister didn't tell me, my mom didn't tell me, my grandma didn't tell me, nobody told me. And then not only that, but I'm not on the bell curve. I'm not like, oh, it was bad. I had hot flashes and then I got over it. It's like I'm way over here. Like every single thing that could possibly happen to me happened in like 10 times as much.
Yes. Some people are like, oh, I didn't even know I went through it.
Right?
Can
And
I
then I
just
say things
say,
like, I hate you. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud?
yeah. Oh my gosh. Come on. Oh my God. Can I say you bitch? Like it's like, oh my gosh.
I'm
I
just
hate you.
warning. Yeah, I think we should just warn people right now. You and I really are pre-menopause. We were nice Christian girls, wouldn't you say?
We met in Bible study.
We
That's
did.
how Kitty and I met. We did. We actually met at work. We were working at E Entertainment
Yeah.
back in the day. And
Yeah.
then we met because we went to the same church.
Yeah. And we
And-
didn't know that we went to the same church because it's a really big
yeah.
church, Bel Air Presbyterian Church in Los Angeles, if anybody wants to know.
Yeah.
And then I saw you, let's see, I think it was was this it? When Pastor Mark said, I'm going to ask you all to give up 1 hour a week instead of chocolate or whatever you give up for Lent. And I want you to go to Bible study for 6 weeks because we have this great big church and hardly anybody does Bible studies. And in my mind, what we all were like, well,
Yeah.
okay, it's only 6 weeks.
I'm going to look like a big dummy because I don't know where I don't know where things are in the Bible. I'll be the
Right.
first to admit it because they
Yeah.
used to always give us the page number. They'd be
Yeah.
like, "You can
Yeah.
find that passage in on 700, page 735, blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, do 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 do." I'm not
Yeah.
that person. I was like, I'm gonna be a big dummy with old conservative, like really like strict, Christians. That's what I
Yeah. Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. And I was thinking, I know where the books are in the Bible and I don't have any problem with that, but I've never been to a Bible study where I felt like other people liked me and I liked them. I was like, this is going
Oh,
to be terrible. This is just going to be horrible. But then he was like, kind of, he was good about making jokes about things. He was like, and extra brownie points if you host one of the Bible studies. And John and I were like, oh, okay, we'll host. Yeah, so we made this plan and we said, okay, but we're going to do it our way. Because if we're going to do this for 6 weeks, and he's like, hopefully you'll like it and you'll want to keep on going. And we're like, Psh, unlikely. But thanks for being so positive about it.
I was like, this is gonna be
Thanks.
the longest 6 weeks of my life.
I know,
Longest.
right?
Oh, I was like a kid in school that didn't want to go, rebellious. I was
Yeah.
like, I want to do this.
It's like, dude, LA traffic. Enough said. Right?
After work at night?
Oh
No, no,
gosh. No.
no. Cut
So
to. Oh, go ahead, Kitty.
Yeah, yeah. So we all decided, okay, fine, we'll do it. But John and I were like, but we're going to do it our way. We're going to make it something that we would enjoy doing. So,
Yeah,
A, there's going to be food.
that will get me there.
Yeah. B,
Yeah,
since
girl.
we were involved in the entertainment industry and those were kind of the only people that we really felt didn't think we were weird, we were like,
Mhm.
okay, and our church is like half entertainment industry people at the time. We were like, okay, it's going to be like I'm not saying that it's not for other people, but this is going to be for entertainment industry people, and because of that, come at any time because we
Yeah.
understand sometimes you just can't leave work just because you're supposed to be someplace.
It's not a 9 to 5 job. It is not a
Right.
9 to, then that's why you love people that do work in entertainment and get it,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you as a casting director, even though you worked at like a big kind of a corporate place at the time, you're still like your job was whatever hours it had to be.
It was, people are coming and going or people are running late and it's like, okay, now I'm going to be late for my
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As a
So,
production accountant, my job was more 9 to 5. The only time it wasn't is if somebody was like desperately needed a check for something, you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I was on set the other day. So
Yeah.
my throat is a little froggy. That's why I keep clearing my throat. I was
And every
cheering
time
and
you do, I
screaming all
want
day.
to. Yeah. Because I'm getting over being
Oh,
sick. So, because it's
it's that time
December
of year.
2025. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
going back to how we met, so then
Yeah,
you guys established all of that, right? You
right.
established,
And but that
yeah,
then we were like, well, hopefully the church will take care of like organizing people to sign up and stuff. And then I saw you in the kitchenette and
yes.
you had a
And we
cross
didn't know each
necklace.
other. We
No,
did not
like
know each other.
we actually didn't work that far apart, but it was a big building with
No.
several floors. So,
Yeah. It was
yeah.
almost like I felt like it was like college, but like in a building, where you're kind of like you're passing, people, and unless you
Yeah.
actually dealt with them day to day, you're just like, hi, hi,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Yeah, there would be people where I'd be like, "Oh, the blonde woman is in that corner office, and then the dark-haired guy with the beard, he's at the desk that's over there. I don't know who they are. I don't even know what they do."
I would always be like, if you're looking for a goofy woman in pink, that's me. Yep,
Yeah,
right over there.
yeah. I'm looking for someone named Jill. I'm like, Jill who always wears pink? I know where she sits.
Yeah, that's her. She trips and falls every once in a while. Don't just laugh. She'll pick herself back up. You know,
Yeah,
it's so
exactly.
true. But okay, so Kitty, I'll let you
Yeah,
continue.
so
How
so
we
in the
met.
kitchenette, you're wearing a like a gold cross necklace, and
Hmm.
I used to think that that just automatically meant that you were a Christian, but I moved to LA and I found out no, it just means that you like this jewelry. Well, I mean, it
Oh,
may only
interesting.
mean that you like the
Hmm.
jewelry. Yeah, that was my experience anyway. So then I was like, but then like I'd lived there long enough to be kind of like I don't want to be offensive by asking you a question about who like I didn't want to be like what if you weren't a Christian? What if you were I don't even know. Like just somebody who liked that jewelry. And I was
Yeah.
like, "So, what church do you go to?" And you'd be like, "You're making me uncomfortable because I don't believe in God." And I'd be like, "I feel stupid." I didn't want that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But thank God
Yeah.
this was the early 2000s, right? This was early 2000s, right?
Oh my gosh, we've known
2003,
each other for that long.
2004 or something.
Oh,
Well,
right,
you know how
until
I
I
based
worked
that
there.
on? I based that on the shows I worked on. So I was working
Right.
at E
That's
starting in 2003. That's how I
Yep,
know.
that's
That
right.
was the
I
only
started
reason
in
I even that.
2004. That's right. Because I was
Yeah.
at NBC and then I went to E the end of 2004. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh
Like
my God.
when did I? So, but anyway, I did get up the courage to ask you. And then you're like, "No, I'm a Christian." And I was like, "Oh, me too." And then you were like, "I go to Bel Air Presbyterian Church." I'm like, "No way, so do I."
Too. And it was instant. It was like love at
Yeah.
first sight.
It was. It was. It was like girlfriend love at first sight.
Yes, it was. That is so perfect, Kitty. That's so perfectly phrased. It really
Yeah,
was.
good for you saying it. I can't believe it took us 25 years for us to like come up with this very funny way of saying it, but it's true.
Yes. Girlfriend love at first sight. I love it.
I should
Oh
write a
my
book.
God. You should write a
Yeah,
book.
because I
Girlfriend love
write,
at first sight.
humorous.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should. You should.
All right.
We'll get into this as we discuss this further, but my experience with men, I'm like, I'm so happy with my girlfriends and trying to find love right now. No man ever compares. No man ever compares
Yeah.
to the bond that you have with a girlfriend. And I'm okay with that. I don't want
Yeah.
to, you don't want to settle for somebody. But anyways, we'll go back to our
Yeah.
story. This is called gabbing. This is what we
Yeah.
do. This is called gabbing.
Exactly.
This is
And,
Midwestern gabbing.
and we just have to finish telling the story. But now,
Yeah.
because of menopause, I'm like, was that the end of the story, or was there more?
So we met at Bible study, and so like
That's
Kitty,
right.
what you were saying. So when we met in the break room or in the cafeteria area, I guess break
Yeah.
room at E, you were like we both were going to Bel Air, and then yeah, I think we started talking about. I think we both were like, "Ah, are you going to do that Bible study?" And I was like, I remember I go, "Ah, I know I'm going to be with old people. They're going to judge me." And then
Yeah.
you're like, "We're hosting. We're hosting. We live in Burbank. You should come." And I was like, okay, I will come.
That's right. That's right. And
That's
then,
how we met.
yeah. So we ended up with 10 people. And at the end of the 6 weeks, six of us decided to stick together. And the six of us are still fast friends, which is crazy.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
really, really are. And it was,
Yeah.
and we always say we probably would have never met had it not been for, well, you and I worked together, but still, had it not been for that Bible study. It's one
Yeah.
of those things where I'm like, okay, it's something that I was dreading. I was like, I'm not gonna like this. I'm a brat. I'm a grown woman, but I can be a brat at times and go back to being like 12 years old or even 5 years old. I don't want to do this, kicking and screaming. And it turns out to be the best experience of my life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. If anybody out there knows how to get in touch with Mark Brewer, you can tell him we still appreciate that.
He connected us. He
Yeah.
connected us with like some amazing people that we went through so much
Yeah.
stuff with,
Yeah.
and that was the point of Bible study.
Yeah. And you and I've never heard of this before, but you and I are co-godmothers.
We are. We are. Oh my gosh. We are.
Ah, because of that, because, the people, they were newlyweds, then they had kids, and now their kids are graduating from high school. How in the holy heck did that happen?
Exactly. Exactly. I remember she sat there, Annie is her name, and she had a purse that said like just married her. And I
That's
remember thinking,
right.
and her husband looked like he belonged to Hell's Angels. Because he was with his motorcycle, his leather jacket, motorcycle rider, red hair, beard, and I was like, oh my God. I was a little scared. I was a little scared at first. And he is the sweetest, nicest guy,
Yes, he is.
super
Yeah.
funny, who baked cookies. He baked the best chocolate chip cookies. Mike
He
is his
really,
name.
yeah.
MYK.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was amazing. And then Dwight became co-godfather with John, my husband. And
Yes.
then, yeah, the six of us have just sort of lived our lives separately, but because then we all kind of started spreading out to different places. And, um,
Yeah.
oh, yes, and that's another thing. Oh, there's so many things. Okay, but I have no idea whether or not there will be a point to these episodes. But I'm like, and that reminds me, the other thing that in our minds you are famous for is the show me prayer.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so my husband John gets this job, and at first he thinks that it's possibly probably spam mail because he got this email saying we'd like to do a like Zoom wasn't a company then, I don't think, but it was
And
like
was it
Skype or
Skype?
whatever. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
Skype or something. Yeah, so we want to do a video interview with you, or it could have even been a phone interview. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
That was back in the day, right? Back in the
Right?
day.
Yeah, because it was 2005.
Ooh, it might have been a phone interview.
Yeah, yeah,
Imagine that.
yeah. And John thought it was spam, that it wasn't a real interview and it wasn't really going to happen because he's like, who would name a movie Happy Feet?
And he'd been talking right throughout our Bible study. He had just wasn't like he was working, but like just wasn't quite. He always just felt
Yeah,
the calling for something different. And we knew that. Like we were
yeah,
just like, I feel your pain. I feel your need for like you want something different. So Kitty, I'll let you continue.
yeah, yeah. So then I don't know. We're all together this time at Mike and Annie's place
Nice and
in
Annie's.
Van Nuys. That was a really nice place too, and always lots of cookies, which is always great.
Always.
And if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong. So this was maybe less than 2 years after we had met, and so you were getting comfortable with a lot more Bible study, like I'm putting that in quotes, stuff.
Yeah,
But praying out loud was still not really, yeah,
not my
you didn't
forte.
love it.
Not my forte.
Yeah,
It's like getting up and speaking in front of a massive audience of people. I can talk to you one on one, but a massive audience of people, I get tongue tied. I'm like, it's never been my thing.
yeah.
Never.
So
So
when we
praying is
speak
the
of,
same.
yeah, when we speak of massive audiences, we're talking about 6 people.
Yeah.
Jill's
I'm
like, no, there's 5
sweating.
other people. No.
I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna say?
And so you were praying for John that God would show him whether or not this job was for him and whatever, and and you kind of were tripping over what you were trying to say. And this is so what our Bible study and what our friendship has been like. And so everybody's eyes are closed. Sorry that I'm laughing.
We're down like this.
Got her heads bowed. And Jill decides to pray for John, and she's like, show him, show him, just show him. And then all of us start giggling. And you say, just
That's
show
the
him,
thing.
God.
God, just show him. God, just show him. And I could not think of anything else to say. And I was like, God, just show him. Show him. Just show him.
And then he gets this amazing job on what ends up being an Oscar award winning film. We moved to Sydney, Australia. And after that, it was like everybody wanted Jill to pray for them. Jill, pray the show me prayer.
It works.
It does, apparently, at least for you.
It's so true though. It's like something that you and I was just like, all of a sudden I went from like, I'm not really great at this to like, oh, it works. Oh my God, this is great. This is a great thing.
Yeah.
Oh my, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
God.
God. So
But
this
that's
is
just
kind of, yeah.
no, I was just gonna say that's one example and one story of like just all these great things that happen because of Bible study, but stuff that we've gone through, that
Yeah.
you and I have gone through together too.
Yeah. Yeah, just living our life together and connected, and then after, moving around, and then Mike and Annie moved out of LA. You and Dwight are still in LA but kind of in different areas, and I get the impression probably not as in touch as, we all used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But we
Yeah.
all, it's that connection that's still there though. Like you
Yeah.
you raised a really good point. And in all honesty, part of the reason Kitty and I are doing this podcast is we feel that the world these days, like so many people are disconnected. There's so many lonely people out there and just want to feel connected. And like back in the day, and again, going back to the Midwest and also our Bible study days, it's all about talking, going to people's homes, and you go for a visit. You go for a visit. What are you doing? You're talking, you're sharing stories. Bible study, we're learning, we're talking, and we're sharing stories. And it's just
Yeah.
like that fine art of even telling a story. I feel it's kind of lost these days because of, a lot of social media platforms where it's just like it's so short. It's like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. But telling a story, like we have great story. I feel like we have great stories, and fun
Yeah.
stories. We need a lot of fun. We feel we need stories, we need fun and connection these days.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though part of me was like, nobody's going to, at first I was like, nobody wants this. But then I started thinking more about what you had said, and I was like, okay, but what if people tuned in, and like if they're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast app, and they just feel like, for a few minutes every time we do this, which hopefully will be a couple times a month. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
well, yeah, this is episode 1. We don't know. But what
Yeah.
if we did make somebody feel, or a bunch of somebody's feel like, oh, I have 2 friends now.
Yes. Welcome. Welcome,
Yes.
people. Welcome. It's so
Welcome.
true because it's like you said, like when we were starting Bible study, it's those things like you said, like we're the people that are like not going to think that we're so weird. Or
Yeah.
like I remember vividly, Kitty and John, you guys have moved around a lot because of work and
Yeah.
between like Australia, New Zealand, Sweden.
Yeah.
And I remember once you sent us a note and it made me chuckle because I know you so well, but you guys joined a Bible study. And then you said at the end of it, hopefully they're not going to find us too kooky or quirky or whatever, think we're too kooky or weird. But I relate to that. Like, for all of us, where we're like, I don't know if I really fit in here or fit in there. I'm just kind of like in that. This is what this is for. Our podcast is for all those people that are like, where exactly do I fit in? Fit in right
Yeah.
here. Come and join,
Yeah.
come and join us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you're just like kind of like
Absolutely.
I will never be, I will always say this, I will never be a rocket scientist. And I don't understand all that stuff. And I will never be that person that's going to be like, I don't know, valedictorian of my class, or well, I'm way beyond that. I guess at this point. But I mean, I'm not going to be the person that's going to be like, I don't even know. Clearly, I cast game shows, but clearly I'll never be on Jeopardy. I will never be a Jeopardy winner. Let's just tell you
Yeah.
that.
Jill can get you on Jeopardy, but
But
no.
if I went on, I would owe them $50,000 at least. They would be like, I think there was that big dummy. Who was that big dummy on Jeopardy? That was Jill. Like, did the buzzer work? Was the buzzer working? Oh my God, it worked. And I don't know the answer. Beep, beep. That's me.
Jill, you
Like,
keep
I'm
hitting
just,
your buzzer. Do you know the answer? No,
no.
I thought it would beep. I just was hitting it because
Yeah,
I thought it would.
is this working? Oh, it is. Oh, I don't know what that answer is.
A.
Maybe maybe entertainment, but I'm like I'm that person. I am just, and I will talk about dating more throughout this too, but I mean, I remember in the past I dated guys and I was like, I don't know what he just said. That's way over my head. And back in the day, I used to lie and be like, sure, do you like camping? Do you like, I don't even know the smart stuff that, would be like, oh, do you like these documentaries? Do you like this? Do you like that? And I'm like, sure I do. And I'm like, I have no idea. Sci-fi, I'm not really into sci-fi, things like that, but I'd be like, sure, I'll love that. I'm sitting in these things going, oh, I hate this. I don't like, I don't like
Yeah.
this. And now it's just like, I don't know, we're just artsy and entertainment and fun. I
Yeah.
just like fun, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever your fun is too. That's what this podcast is about too. It's like
Right.
finding your joy and finding your fun these days, and stuff.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
especially like maybe you are one of the people who works alone at home because now you can, and now maybe you don't even like it that much anymore. Right.
I
Or
work,
like,
I like working at home, but still it's like
yeah.
you do, like we get our to get your socialization or social, I don't know what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
to get some, get some socialization, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and get stimulation
Yeah.
like with talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And connecting, feeling like you're actually connecting.
Exactly, exactly. That can be, especially during COVID. I mean, we did do Zooms over COVID. Remember, we did do Zooms over COVID, and we felt
Yeah.
so like, oh, this is amazing. And this
Yeah.
was all over the world too, that
Yeah.
we were doing our Zooms because you guys were in Sweden. Yeah, you guys still are, but you were in
Yeah, we were
Sweden.
in Sweden then. Yeah.
You were in
But
Sweden.
remember,
Mm.
I started my podcast the end of 2017. Lived in California for a minute, moved here in 2018, and I could not get any of my friends except for you. I don't, if there was anyone else, I apologize that I can't remember you, but I mean, not that I can't remember you, I
It's
can't remember talking
menopause.
to you.
It's
Yeah,
menopause taking that memory away.
we're just going to blame everything on menopause.
Blame it.
And the
Blame
reason
it
why
on
we're going to
menopause.
mention menopause all the time is because, okay, I was going to say earlier, this might end up being an explicit show, so I'll have to remember to put the little explicit thing because sometimes we're just going to swear because menopause makes me swear. So
Because there's no other word but the swear words for that.
gosh, yes, sometimes. So the reason why, if you're like, why do they talk about menopause all the time? It's because it should not be taboo. It should never have been taboo. And Jill and I are going to be part of the wave of people who just normalize it so that everybody can be cool and you can be like, what's wrong with you? Oh, okay, totally understand. I've heard of that. Instead of being, gosh, all the other, yeah. Anyway, I'll get angry if I talk about it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I agree. I agree. Like
Yeah.
the things like nobody ever talked about that. Like we're going to talk about stuff, and just stuff that again, a lot of people aren't, they thank God for Halle Berry and
Yes.
Naomi Watts are really bringing it to the forefront, but
Yes.
it's like why after all these years are we just, finding out about this? Like
Yeah.
when you're a kid and we go back to like, sex education. And I was like, oh, we were learning about sex education. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But you learn about that, the human body, and I had to, the diagrams and stuff, but they never, and then you become an adult and they never mention menopause. I remember years and years ago, I need to see if it's on some streaming service, Sybil. Do you remember the show Sybil, Sybil
Yeah.
Shepherd?
Yeah.
and Christine Baranski, who they're both amazing actresses. I
Yeah.
think I remember vaguely watching that show. I don't know if it was Christine Baranski or if it was Sybil herself. Christine Baranski, I think they always drink like dirty martinis and stuff, but she was sweating. One of them was sweating. And I think they briefly said, like, I'm going through the change or something.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that was. I was
I
just
had no
like,
idea
oh,
what it
but
was.
at least you're drinking dirty martinis. But
Right.
but it was just like the sweating, and it was just like you're just hot. You're hot all the time. And I
I
don't
thought
know
it
that
had something to do with like a career change or like I didn't know. What kind of change are you going to turn into a monkey? I don't think so. So I don't know what you're talking about.
what is that? You know? It's just like it's so crazy that you just look back and it's like maybe on Archie Bunker. I don't know if Edith went through the change
Yeah.
too. I don't know.
Well, if she
Or
did, he
all
was
of the
really mean
family.
to her about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If she did, you know, and that was just like, oh my God, the change, the change.
Yeah.
And Golden Girls,
Yeah.
I don't even remember if the Golden Girls went through, you know, that would have been, I don't know if they went
Well, they
through
were
it.
supposed to be. So I looked that up because I was
Oh,
talking to some other women about the Golden Girls. And
ooh,
oh my gosh, Jill. In my mind, I remember thinking, oh, it's three like really old women. Now, granted, I was much younger and I was like,
really
wow,
old.
really old women. And so, first of all, at the age they were supposed to be in the show, I'm sure all of them had already gone through it. But whether or
Yeah.
not they had any, experience, other different experiences from being on the other side, I don't remember. Even if they talked about it, though, I wouldn't know what they were talking about because, where I lived, nobody talked about it. So I didn't know what it
Hmm.
was. But then, Jill, I looked it up. They were ridiculously younger than their characters. And I was so pissed when I found, I can't remember which one of them was only in her 50s when the show started, and she was supposed to be this old woman, and I'm currently older than however old whichever actress it was.
Hmm.
Did you ever? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And especially, oh my God, I for Blanche, the woman, Rue McClanahan, that played Blanche, not
Yeah.
Branch, but Blanche.
Branch.
She played Blanche. I mean, I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think they were all like in their, it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
50, like they were in their 50s.
One was, yeah, and I think two of them were in their 60s or something like that when the show first started. I'm like, okay, now I'm just pissed. The calling
These
them old, making them look old and
old,
act old. I'm
yeah,
like, what?
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, these old ladies, but
Yeah.
like nothing, even like you watch, I'm a fan of Sex in the City and like that whole pretty much the whole series, but they never really touched upon menopause.
Yeah.
Never. I mean,
Yeah.
it went into and just like that, and a lot of people have differing views on that. I really do think they went on a whole different path with and just like that, and it was like basically highlighting like the upper echelon. You know, it was just it kind of lost the Sex and the City flair of like we're trying to make it, we're trying to find love, we're trying to find our careers, and all of a sudden all these women are just super rich and their problems are just unrelatable and stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's my tangent on that. But they really missed the boat because they could have explored menopause. It is
Yeah.
menopause. I know we're going to complain a lot about it, but you have to have a sense of humor about it too. I think that's what you're going to see with our podcast is when we mention menopause, though, you're just like, you know, I forget Kitty and I were talking one day and I was saying something about fire and I wish I could remember what you made a comment and it was just like, oh my God, you're on fire. I'm on fire right now or whatever, because it's just like menopause just hits you with these feelings and you're just like in your body, you know, all of a sudden you're just so hot. You're so hot and it's just like, what the heck? And you're sweating. I was on set. I remember I started going through menopause and I was on set. And usually when you're on a TV set, they keep it really, really cold. I'm sure
Right.
because of all the cameras and things like that. Everybody has jackets on. I was standing there one day and luckily I had some like Ugg boots on or something. And I had my, I don't know, my jeans or whatever, my Uggs, my jeans. And I'm standing there in a spaghetti strap top. And my boss was just like, aren't you cold? And I am sweating because I have menopause.
Oh,
I'm going through menopause. I have menopause like it's a disease, but I
yeah.
have
Yeah.
menopause.
Exactly.
You know, it's like it's a disease. And I didn't want to say anything to him. So I go, these boots are really hot. Yes,
There's
I
always
am
a
so
reason.
cozy. I am so hot with these boots. I am fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm totally fine. It's the boots that are the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I am fine. I am fine. I went to a party once with a guy I was dating, and it was a holiday party, and they were like, ugly sweater. It's an ugly sweater party. And I remember thinking at the time I was really going through it, whereas I was so unpredictable how I was going to feel, hot, hot, and just anxious too. Then you're like, you feel like you feel like you're belong in an insane asylum because all of a
Yeah.
sudden you could just be crazy. You could be happy, happy, and then crying or angry,
So
angry.
angry.
Or, you always the emotions are all over the place. I remember when he told me, "Oh, it's a holiday, ugly sweater contest and stuff," and I was like, and my first thought was, do you know how hot that is going to be? It's going to be hot as hell in a freaking sweater. And
Yeah.
so I remember I went that night, but I ended up buying like a holiday dress that I could wear. And they were like, you actually look really cute. And I had like ho, ho, ho on it and whatever. Cause I go, that way I can maybe stay a little bit cool, still be fashionable, but a little bit cooler. He had cousins who, when we got there, like they had a fireplace going and whatever. And they were like, these were women. The cousins were women about our age, and they were like, they were wearing their sweaters, and they're like, "Why is this fireplace going? Open the door! It is hot as hell in here. It is hot as hell in here in these sweaters." And they were like, "Don't they realize we're going through menopause? Oh my God, it's so hot in here. I'm taking my sweater off. I don't care." Like they were just, and I was like, "Oh, I'm right there with you, sister. Right there with you." There's nobody else knows. Nobody, men are like, what? You know,
Why, Jill? Why did I choose to wear the summer top on our podcast interview in December?
yeah.
Because if I get really excited, then I get really hot. And I know that once I start laughing with you, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh. And then I made sure that within arm's reach, I'd had my fan if I needed it.
Oh, the
Here, I'll
fan.
loan you mine.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. I remember when we were doing, I was doing a show called How Do I Look? When I met you, I was doing a show at
Right.
E called How Do I Look? I was casting it. Finola Hughes at the time was hosting the show. We made over a woman, she was actually the sister of Nancy Legrand, who's on General Hospital, and she's still on there. But speaking of fans, I remember her two sisters came out to help make her over. Like they were like, okay, we're going to help you make you over. We're going to choose things for you because we know you. It was a really cool concept for a show. They should do more like that these days, but because it has a nice happy feeling at the end.
Yeah.
Cut to, we were filming at one of the buildings at E, or one of the office spaces and stuff, when we were filming. And I walked in one day and it was like the summertime. The air conditioning was going, but I walked in and one of her sisters, Nancy Legrand's sisters, she was sitting with this portable fan. And she said to me, she said, "Oh my God," she goes, "menopause is a bitch." And again, I was like, I don't even know what she's talking about. And I remember like, oh my God, getting older just must suck. Because she goes, "This is the best feeling ever." And now I know what she meant. Now I know what she meant. I was just like, I need one of those fans. I need one of those portable fans. So maybe if we
Yeah.
get sponsors, it's like, okay, we need to get those portable fans.
Portable fan sponsors. Call us, Kitty at kittybucholtz.com is my email address.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, please let Kitty know. That would be fantastic. But
That
it is,
would.
again, it really is like with menopause, it's like there's so many things that like really could, there's a lot of customers out there because you all of a sudden we need all these things, the
Yeah.
portable fans, the ice packs, in the summertime. I still live in Los Angeles and my girlfriends and I, we go walking at the beach, which I mean, normally it's very cool, but still it can get to be 90, 95 degrees at the beach without shade, and the ocean air only goes so far, and are experiencing, probably because of climate change, we're experiencing like humidity, like not like what you and I are used to from the Midwest, but it's still humid, and we will be sweating. My girlfriend will be like, she's got the thing over her neck that's like she put it in the freezer and it'll kind of keep her neck cool, but I'm like,
Those things are
portable
great.
fan, those things are
Yeah.
great, but we need all those things because it will hit you like. And everybody, Drew Barrymore, I know, is going through, I think, perimenopause right now. And she was on her show set one day, and I forget what celebrity she was talking to. She's like, all of a sudden, she says, "I'm having a hot flash right now. I'm just having my first hot flash."
Yeah, but see, that's the thing,
Um,
is that if we normalize it, then people won't be shocked out of their mind when they're like, "Something's wrong with me. I think I'm sick," or I
yeah.
I had the worst problem with anger. Like, I don't even wanna know why the rage
And
monster was such a thing for me, but, I went from, like, always being really angry if someone used the F word around me to using it, like, 16 times in one sentence. And then John was complaining to his twin brother, and David said something about oh, it's really funny, and I'll have to tell you next time that we're talking. But he told John something about so now you have like a F rating system, like how many F words is how bad she's having a day, and I'm like, okay, that's actually really funny because it's true.
it's so true. That because I will tell all our listeners, viewers out there, Kitty is the nicest, nicest person. And absolutely the nicest person. Sweet Kitty, sweet, sweet Kitty. To go from sweet
Yep.
Kitty to raging,
Raging anger kitty.
raging like lioness, you're like, "Arr." That's menopause.
That is menopause. And I feel really bad because it occurred to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been living in Sweden 7.5 years, and no one here has known me pre-perimenopause. I'm like, none of you even know the real nice person that I am. I'm not as awful as I probably seem.
That is the thing about menopause, which is so interesting because you're like, I am a nice person. Like you're like, I used to be. In your mind, I'm like, I want
Yeah,
to go back to the way I used to be. I mean, for
yeah,
the most part, like menopause, there are benefits to menopause where you're like, you don't mess around. Like Kitty and I are people pleasers. We're yes people.
yeah,
You know, you can waste our time people, which
yeah.
when menopause hits, you're like, absolutely not. I
Yeah.
know comes out really quickly. You're like, I'm not doing that. It's like
Exactly.
all of a sudden you cut through the crap and the BS and you're like, oh no, I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
feel like menopause turns really, menopause turns women into men that are like, oh no, I'm not, they would never do that anyways. Like, you look at these businessmen like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Menopause turns women into men
Maybe
that,
maybe the
that are
word
like,
has to do with that.
yeah, it's like I'm not messing around. This is because I used to always say when I would work with actually because I've worked with a lot of women too that are, a lot of times I'd be like, she's like a man. She's like, she gets things done. Well, it's interesting because I used to look at men and go, man, I wish I could be like that. And then menopause hit, and I'm like, it's just because the hormones, and you're like, I'm not taking this crap anymore. That is where you're like, okay,
And I don't know about you, but the thing is that once it did happen, on the one hand, it was nice because people, I think they just got scared and then they immediately didn't ask a second time. But I was thinking in my head, but I don't want to be this person. This isn't me. I'm not a mean
yeah,
person. But like,
yeah.
okay, so we go to this church that has like the average age has got to be like 29, 32, something like that. I'm
Oh
talking about the
wow,
average age. It's
wow.
all of these young people who had kids and now their kids are growing up and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to turn 40." And I'm like, "I remember that."
You too.
And so there's like 5 gazillion kids. There's like 180 adults and like 500 kids. It's probably not exactly true, but it feels true, especially
Wow.
because like you've been single your whole life. I've been married
Mhm.
35 years. Both of us don't have kids. And
Mhm.
by choice. Well, I mean, mine's
Yeah.
by choice. Is yours by
Yeah.
choice? I
Mine's
always
by
thought
choice
so.
too. I
Yeah.
think in the past, if I met the right person, I always said, "Oh, I would." And I have to say, I'm thankful because I never met that right partner,
Yeah.
to have
John
children
and
with
I,
them.
yeah, yeah. You have those moments that if you don't want kids, they're called scares when you're like, "Oh my gosh, I think I might be pregnant. Crap, what are we going to do?" And then you're like, "Okay." And then eventually you kind of wrap your head around it and you're like, "Okay, well, our life will be very different and we'll get through it and it'll be great because everybody says it's great." And then your period comes and you're like, "Oh, thank you God for letting me have the life I wanted to have."
Because
But so
those
I'm
people were
talking,
lying. No,
yeah,
those people were lying. We're like, it's great. Like, it's
it's
like,
great.
I mean, it is great, but it's between
It's awesome.
no no sleep when they're young, and then the teen years hit. This is just, my friends love their children, but then the
Yeah.
teen years hit, and they're like, I hate you, and Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
My
yeah.
friends who are like, "Oh my gosh, the thing that," then they'll say what my kid said to me today, and they're like, "I know they probably really can't help it, but wow, my feelings were hurt." And I was like, "Oh my
Yes.
gosh, this sounds like such a hard life. I feel like I really chose the much easier path."
Fun. Yeah, exactly. I mean, once as I kept getting older, I was just like, I go, and I always felt like this is dating in LA too. I
Yeah.
always felt like even if I did meet somebody, I always felt like eventually become the single parent. I'd always be the parent because men, as you know, they're man children or man childs. I always
Not
dated the
all,
man child.
but
No, but
you.
I've dated the man childs that wanted to be an actor, wanted to be a musician, wanted to be, but they just don't want to work. They want to be
Yeah.
all these things, but they don't want to work. And so I was like, I would still have to be the breadwinner. So I was just like, I've dated a few good men too that were like they had a regular job and stuff like that. And of course,
Yeah.
then what do I do? Then I'm bored. Then I'm bored, whatever. But
Oh.
but my point is that's why I always saw myself as like I'd probably be a single parent. And I was just like, I didn't want to raise a child in a one bedroom apartment in LA because of how expensive it can be too.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just like, and especially as I got older, I was just like, I like my life. You get people, we come from the generation where you were expected to have children, be married and have children. And
Yeah.
then thank God we live in a day and age that we do now where it's just kind of like, this is pretty groovy. This is pretty awesome, to be like, hey, we're free. We've chosen this life and we
Yeah.
enjoy the life that we have,
Yeah.
whether it's like I'm a solo, person.
Whatever. Yeah. Solo person. Yeah.
And you're People keep telling me I do interviews for game shows, and some of the people I interview, and they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a solo traveler." That is the big thing these days. I'm a solo traveler. I love traveling by myself. And then they're like, and now I've heard like I'm a solo dater, and I'm like, "What's a solo dater?" They're like, "I take myself out on dates." And so they'll tell me they'll go, "I love going to the movies because." I get to go to the movie I want to. I'm not waiting for my cousin or, my boyfriend or whatever, a boyfriend or a date, whatever,
Yeah.
to choose what movie to go to and what time and things like that. And they're like, and I love taking myself out to eat. They're like, I'll take myself out to eat. I get to go exactly where I want to go, when, order what I want, because you've got that freedom of being a
Wow.
solo
Well, I mean,
person.
I'm happy for those people and I have no judgment, but I'm just thinking, oh, how sad. I'm married to my best friend. And yes, we have to take turns. Like, I want to eat here, okay, but next time we get to go there, and the next time we do, and I want to watch this movie, or you want to watch that movie, or, like, but the fact is that we take turns and we're just also lucky, but like we like a lot of the same things, both in food and entertainment and whatever. But, granted, like Saturday night I'm going to go to a music concert by myself because John doesn't want to go and I want to go, so I'm going. I mean, so I'm happy to be a solo traveler when necessary, but
Yeah,
the most amount of fun is, I mean, because you go out with your other girlfriends a lot of times.
I do.
It's fun to be by yourself, but I think it's way more, just maybe it's personality. I think it's way more fun to be with somebody that you really love their company.
I agree with you. I agree with you. My girlfriends, like oftentimes we go, oh, we're gonna go to the beach, or let's go for lunch, let's go to Beverly Hills. Like my girlfriend Karen and I just went to Beverly Hills this past Saturday, and we walked around, we looked at all the holiday lights and things like that,
Yeah.
and Christmas lights, and then we had lunch and stuff, and we just make it. And we felt like we're blessed. We live in Los Angeles, so we can go to Beverly Hills. It's 20 minutes away from me,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
felt like we are on vacation without leaving the city,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is fun to have those moments, and we're very blessed when we can do those things. So I do enjoy that. I have just, I have never met a man that shares those similarities or the commonalities, that's playing on
Yeah.
my team. At least he's
Right.
playing on my
Right.
team, meaning I have a lot of gay friends. I have a lot of gay friends, and the minute that I start going, oh, he likes this, he likes this, he likes this, he likes this, and I'm like, oh, he's gay. There's no way
He
he's
must
playing.
be because
He's he's not playing on my team, and stuff like that. So I do agree. Like I look as a single person, I would love to meet somebody and go, oh my God, he's my best friend. We love to watch football. I do love, 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 love football. So it'd be great to meet somebody who, like with you and John, you love the superhero movies. You love like
yeah.
all that type of stuff, and I'm like, I never really got into that stuff, but I'm like, I just think that's so fascinating when it's like you just find that commonality, and I think
Yeah.
And I do think in today's society, between, you know, unfortunately when COVID hit, but also with all of this modern technology being with your phones and now AI, which can be great, but people are talking to AI and they're not really talking to people. That's going to
Yeah.
be, I think down the road, that's going to make more isolation, more loneliness. So again, if you're listening to this and you're watching this and you're one of those people, it's like we're going to encourage you, you know, even though I say I love being, you know, single, but we're going to encourage you guys also to like go out, you know, listen to us, talk, not listen, well, listen, yes, definitely listen and watch us, but also maybe we'll give you some inspiration to go
Yeah.
out, meet people, you know, because as a
Yeah.
single, I've done the dating apps and now I'm like, I always make a joke when people say to me, when I'm interviewing people for shows, I used to do an HGTV show. I used to cast HGTV shows, and those are a lot of couples wanting to renovate their homes. So my very
Yeah.
first question is always my favorite question: how did you two meet? And they would always give each other a little look and stuff. And a lot of them, you know, these most recent years, they've been, we met on a, you know, they used to be embarrassed to say they met on a dating app, but eventually people were like, we met on Match.com or, you know, whatever it was. But I have to say the ones I love the best are the ones that would chuckle and they're like, we met at a bar. And they'd be almost embarrassed by that. And I go, you met the good old fashioned way. You met in
In
person in a
person.
bar. Now nothing would make me happier than A, I don't go to a lot of bars, but if I went to a bar, because it's always so loud to me, it's like it's loud and it's just, you know, whatever. But if I went to a bar and I met somebody, you know, and you just and you have that dream of like, oh, he sees you, you see him, and you're like, your eyes meet, that's still always my dream. You know, and I
Yeah.
think more and more people I'm talking to again when I'm interviewing people and they're like, I'm so over those apps. Those people are liars. They're phony. They're fake. Most of the time, those people are already in relationships. So they're either cheating or they're looking for a third. It is so complicated. And the lingo that people use, they always use like, I'm SMS or I don't know what these abbreviations are. I don't know what I'm polyamorous. I have to look all this stuff up because I'm like, I don't really because sometimes people will I'll like somebody or whatever, and they'll be like, did you really read my profile? Do you really know what I'm looking? And I think they were looking for a third and like a thruple. It was just like, oh, okay. We're not swiping right. We're not swiping right. We're swiping left. It's
It's
just like
funny.
all the.
Yeah. No, finish your, yeah.
Oh no, I'm good.
It's just funny because when we were talking about what will we talk about on our show, um, I can't remember why, but you brought up, well, I'm sure that we'll end up talking about D&D because John has been playing for over 40 years and now I've started playing. And you said when I first heard of D&D or heard, I think you said when I first heard you, Kitty, talking about D&D, I thought it was some form of S&M. And I remember thinking when I first heard of S&M, I was like, is that like some sort of music or something? So you and I can learn different lingo, but if we don't use it in normal language, and we're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Like,
No,
yeah,
it's like, what the hell is that?
yeah,
I have to tell you, I will tell the story if you don't mind. I'm going to tell the story of D&D. So we told you guys how we met at, you know, Bible study and stuff. So we're going to church together. We're at Bible study. I think this is fairly early on in our Bible study days. So John, Kitty's husband, was also a youth. Well, he was a youth
volunteer.
volunteer. I was going to say he wasn't a minister, but youth volunteer. So he would volunteer with the boys, right? Like the teenage
Yeah,
boys and stuff. And I knew
yeah,
that. And it was during Bible study. And then John had really long hair back then. Remember, like
yeah.
in long hair and
As
stuff.
long as
And so
yours.
I'm like, these people are just the nicest people. And I'm at their home, I'm eating cookies and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden during Bible study, he was like, oh yeah, the guys, you know, I'm gonna take the youth group, you know, the youth group, we're gonna do D&D. I sat there and I was like, you guys keep talking. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, these people are not who I thought they were. Oh my God. Because in my mind, I was like, that's S&M. I was like, staring at you guys. And Kitty, you had red hair, like the cutest little, you still look absolutely gorgeous, by the way, but red hair and John with his long hair. And I'm like, "Oh, these people are sick." I was like, these people are sick. They're not what I thought. They're pretending to be these good Christian people and they're into this D&D. It's just this S&M in my mind. It's like a sitcom moment where I was just like, oh my God. And I don't know if I said anything that night, or maybe I did. I was like,
No, I don't
maybe.
remember this at all, Jill.
And I don't know if even back in the day, like with Google, I think I had to go home that night and look it up. I had to come home and look it up. I probably maybe we did have Google back then and stuff, but I was just like, and then I was like, what is Dungeons and Dragons? Like, because I was like, is that a form of S&M? Like, what's happening here?
With the
This is
dragon
totally
under the dungeons.
That's totally what I thought. D&D was the same as S&M. And I was just like, oh my God, these people. It's just like,
and and they're around the kids. Someone should tell the pastor.
that's what I thought. I was just like, and he is a youth volunteer. What is going on here? These people.
Well, so first of all, that's hysterical because I'm sure that I don't know the story. But it leads to
Oh,
the other thing that huh?
my mind was going. I was in your home and my mind was going. I was just like, there, see this Bible study.
This is why I don't go to Bible
This
study.
is why. This is why. I was waiting. I was just waiting for this to happen. And then I was like, oh, okay. It's this game. If you watch, and Big Bang, I don't think the Big Bang Theory of the show didn't exist
Right.
back then. So it was just like, I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Never. And I remember looking at everybody else going like, why isn't anybody else in this room shocked that this is happening? Like it was just like, you know how you take something so small and in your mind it's so dramatic. I was so dramatic in my mind. I wasn't saying anything, but it was very dramatic, almost like a Seinfeld moment. Like we love that show Seinfeld, but it was just like where you're just like, oh, and it's building, and it was building for me. Where I was like, D&D, this is disgusting.
I have to tell John this is going to be great. Oh, okay, but that is really funny. But you remind me, so one of the things that I thought about you in those early years of our friendship is that you were this cute little blonde, super happy pink wearing Bible, what is it called? Sunday school teacher. Like you were
Sunday
always with
school.
the little kids. Yeah. And
I've
I
got
was
two
always like,
girls.
wow, Jill's like a much nicer person than me because I don't want to do that. I don't know how to be with kids. I don't think that I would like being with kids, but I was like a regular normal person who would be like smile and nod and be like, yeah, no, not for me, right? I mean, that's easy. Smile and nod. Yeah, no, thanks. That's not for me. If somebody were to ask, do you want to be a Sunday school teacher? Oh, yeah, no, thanks. That's not, I wouldn't know how. But post perimenopause and hormones and whatever. So I go to this church that I said the average age has got to be like low 30s. And somebody's like, Kitty, can you help out with Sunday school? And I'm like, no, I don't like kids. And I'm saying this in a room full of moms, and they're all just looking at me like, did you just say you don't like kids? And I'm thinking, I probably should have worded that differently.
Sorry, that was menopause talking.
That
That
was
was
menopause.
menopause was talking there. No, when I am in I totally understand. When I'm in a restaurant, we were having lunch on Saturday. We are in Beverly Hills, and we were going to sit outside, and then they didn't have enough room, so Karen went inside. We were like, let's just go sit inside. They had holiday music playing, and I go inside, just like a sitcom or rom-com. And Karen's like, "Are you okay if we sit inside here?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "You know what?" I go, "There was a kid crying outside." I go, "Yeah, it's better. We're going to sit inside. I don't want to listen to that during lunch." It was just like,
Now it kind of makes me wonder, if John's been in menopause his whole life because he hears the kids crying and his face is just like, "Rrr." And I'm like, John, like, don't let that show on your face. People will be upset.
so trying. I know this is hard for these people. I know it is, but I'm just like, oh, these kids. I turned into one of those people. I just be like, "Arr, control that kid. Take the baby out. Take the baby outside. Take the baby out. It's just like because you kind of, and again, sometimes you're like, like you said, did that just come out of my mouth? You're like, what did I just say? Oh
Yeah.
my God. I am very blessed because I went through part of my menopause during COVID. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to be, you're wearing a mask when you go outside. Remember the days where we can laugh about it now, but remember the days where they were like, don't even go near people. So you're with the mask on and you're like, you can't. And Kitty and I will tell you, when I walk down the street in the morning, I'm the type of person that I always say, good morning, hello, good morning. Kitty is like by far the echelon of that. Like Kitty, when we would be at church, it would take forever to get into church and then out of church because Kitty, oh, good morning, hello, good morning. And I always think of you when I'm saying good morning to people. And I'm sure this happens to you, and it has happened to you. There's kids, there's a school up the street from where I live. It's a high school, so it's high schoolers and stuff. By God, I've passed kids where I'm like, good morning, and they don't say a word to me. They don't say a word. But then sometimes I broke one girl down. I did it enough, like I think for months, and she finally had to break down and smile and say, yeah, say good morning. But going back to like when I was during COVID, I was lucky because I didn't have to, I didn't really have to talk to a lot of people back then. So it was just like, okay. I was like, nothing's coming out of my mouth because they want you to cover everything up and stay inside.
Yeah. And nobody can see you smile. I actually,
No,
when I would have the mask on,
no.
I just stopped smiling because I was like, my face hurts from smiling and nobody can see it. So I'm just going to stop
Me
smiling.
too. I was like, I'm in pain. And you're like, you don't want to have to go to the hospital because it's COVID era for anything else. And be like, my mouth hurts. I think I hurt my mouth because I was smiling. Why you're smiling? Under your mask. Why? You're just
But
like,
then they would
nobody can
say,
see this.
yeah, they were like, smile under your mask so that it shows in your eyes so people can tell that, like, otherwise everybody looked like serial killers, you know?
They totally did. They
And now with
totally
the
did.
passport photos, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Do you have a passport and with,
I have a passport, but I actually need to get it renewed again. So I'd have to go through all that again.
yeah. So ours got renewed in 2016. So we're getting ready to do it again. And that was when they had like started. When I say started, like I don't know when they started doing it, but we had not heard because it hadn't been enough of a thing yet. Where you had to take your glasses off and you weren't allowed to smile. And they would say you're
What?
not allowed to smile. It turns out what they mean is that because they want facial recognition software to be able to find you in the system. So yeah, it's a little creepy if you think about it too much and you watch too much sci-fi like I do.
Oh,
But what it actually is you can't show your teeth. So it turns out that you can smile like this, but you
oh,
can't
okay.
smile like this. Yeah. And, but
Why?
in our first passport photos from 2016, the guy was like, "You can't smile because everybody, like the people doing the passport photos, they get rules from the government or whatever, and they just tell you what the rules are, but nobody really understands why the rules are that way, so they don't know anyway." So he would be like, "You can't smile," and I was like, I don't know if I'm physically capable. I'm not smiling. So I tried really hard. I'm like, okay, hold on a second, because now I'm laughing just thinking about the fact that I can't not smile. Anyway, I think that was too many double negatives. But anyway, and so I was like, okay, hold on a second. And I couldn't look at John. I couldn't look at the guy. Just had to think of something like really sad, like, oh, my dog died when I was 10. And then he took the picture, I'm like, and then I see the picture, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I saw this picture in the post office, I would be like, she had to have killed 13 people at least. So wrong.
Look like a mean mama. Mean man Majama.
So imagine if you don't
Hmm.
notice that your hormones are making you crazy
Mhm.
and you're just trying to get through this moment so you can go home. So you're not smiling. And then you say something like, I don't want to teach Sunday school. I don't like kids. And you have that face. You have the serial killer face. I mean, I don't know how I made friends here, honestly.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
turns you into a crazy person, a
Yeah.
crazy, crazy person.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, because don't you feel like again, we're talking about menopause, but don't you feel like there are times where I would just be like, who is this person? And I'm talking about myself, where I'd be like, I just don't understand. I don't
Yeah.
understand what I'm feeling. I don't understand what the heck is coming out of my mouth, the thoughts in my head, where I'm just I would just be like, like, no, I don't want to do something. Oh, good, that happened, blah, blah, blah. And I would just be like, what is wrong with you? And then again, I just kept thinking, I am a nice person. I am a nice person. Where is this? Like, I think anybody that's gone through menopause and you still have all your friends and family and stuff like that, probably Academy Award winning performances, because there are times you're just not feeling it. You're just not. And there are
Yeah.
times I'm like, I have zero, like I work in a business where we want people on camera to have personality and stuff.
Yeah.
And therefore I have to have personality too. And I think both you and I have big
Yeah.
personalities. Let's just say that. Like we've
Yeah.
always been talkative. That's Midwest in us too. We
Yeah.
always want to talk and stuff like that. But there have been days where like when I was really, really going through it, where I was like that
Yeah.
passport photo. I was like, I am not smiling. I'm not happy, and you're just like, I'm
Yeah.
not.
I just realized, I probably was a serial killer in my head. I was probably like, you know what? I honestly just, I mean, I do remember thinking some really, really mean things about, I'm not going to go into politics, but I was thinking some really mean things about some people. And then I remember feeling really bad about it later, but it took like weeks or whatever for me to like, cuz I would have these waves, I'd have the good wave and then the bad wave. I literally thought that I needed to be tested for bipolar disorder because I'd never heard anything about what menopause did or anything. So
Wow.
when I was having these horrible, like I'd be so angry and then just crying, 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 and then I'd be so happy again. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what that was, but it's over. And then it would just happen again and again and again. So yes, I thought I needed to be. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, maybe I don't have bipolar disorder, I'm just saying maybe. But but there were times when I would be like listening to the voices in my head. I'm a novelist. I feel like it's okay to say voices plural.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I would be thinking, my gosh, like you are kind of like a serial killer on the inside right now. So I don't know where the real kitty went, but you're very scary who's there now right now.
And you write happy rom-com type things.
I used to, you notice though, I have not put out a book since perimenopause started. It has been really hard to write funny, romantic, cute stories. In fact, at one point, I was like, I just need to, like, not writing makes me like just really not, I'm not, I'm not good. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
happy and things aren't right if I'm not writing. But I was like, I cannot write something funny and cute and sassy. And so I started writing a story where the main character dies in chapter one, and she dies gruesomely. And I was like,
kitty,
yeah, I was so happy.
kitty. Oh my God.
It's gonna be a like
Bad
a
kitty, bad kitty.
I know.
I will say that. Bad kitty, bad kitty.
But it
Watch,
turns out
kitty, that's gonna be a bestseller.
it's
That will be the
really
bestseller.
it's going to be a really interesting trilogy. So I have kind of a trilogy mapped out, and basically she dies, she's murdered, but she doesn't know she's been murdered, of course, not yet. um and then her spirit is wandering the hospital, but it keeps going in circles, like she can't get out of like the path that she was on.
Ah,
And she's trying to like get people's attention. She doesn't realize she's dead, and she's trying to get
ah.
people's attention, and nobody is noticing her, talking to her, everybody's ignoring her, which she thinks is probably just some hospital thing, like these people are busy with their own problems and whatever, and the doctors and nurses are just super busy, and she's not realizing anything until somebody meets her eyes and then quickly looks away. And anyway, so eventually, like by the end of chapter one, I think, she does realize she's dead, but also she's still here in some sort of form that this one guy can see but nobody else can see. And she's like, okay, so I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. I'm still playing with it. I'm having so much fun. But basically, her question is, but I'm a Christian. I should be in heaven. Why am I still here? And so,
Ooh, good question.
right? And
Yeah.
so I am like taking, the very few stories from the Bible that have to do with spirits and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so if this happened, like if Samuel was able to be pulled out of wherever he was in eternity,
Yeah.
by a witch in the Old Testament, then something, may well really be possible with spirits still, being on. I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to play with it and I'm just going to have fun with it. So she has to solve her own murder. But in the meantime, like, other ghosts realize that she can communicate with a living person. So then it becomes this whole chaotic thing where now this guy is kind of like overrun with all of these ghosts who are like, help me, and so she helps other people and then they disappear to wherever they're supposed to be, the good place or the bad place.
Yeah.
But she still never does. And then all these things happen and she's trying to figure out like why someone killed her and then how it relates to her family and what's going on. And anyway, it's going to be super fun, but it's definitely not
Ooh,
a rom-com. But it's kind
that's
of that chick lit feel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued. And I didn't want to interrupt you while you were saying that, but when she's trying to go around the hospital and everybody's ignoring her, I was like, what does that say about our healthcare these days? Because that's very believable. Very believable. That you're
Right.
just like, just be ignored.
So,
She's like, yep, this is normal.
yeah.
This is
So,
normal.
John and I live in Sweden now, and thank you God, we haven't had to go to the hospital for any reason, but we know a few people who have. Um, but I do go. Let's see, is it the hospital? There's a whole bunch of buildings. It's not like one big building, which is what I'm used to for American hospitals.
Oh yeah.
Clearly, I haven't been in tons of American hospitals, but they seem to be just one big building. But here, it's like a whole bunch of buildings. Anyway, so I have to get a mammogram that is in the hospital, and there was one other reason why I had to go into the building that is the hospital or a building that is the hospital. And so like they give you directions for how to get to the room you're supposed to be at to check in. Like you go in the
Oh,
door off
okay.
at this street and then go left down the long hallway through the double doors and whatever. But what's interesting is that in my experience, in the experience of like at least two other people that I can think of who had to go to the hospital for something, then they're like, run your credit card and it's like it costs like $20. Anyway, run your credit card and then they're like, okay, thanks, you'll get a letter in the mail. And then it's like, see you next patient. And then you suddenly realize, do I remember how I got in? Like, how do I get out? And I know that at least three of us, Jill, this would be so you. We're wandering around trying to find any door that goes to the outside world. And
Oh
we're
my
like just
God.
stuck in this hospital forever. Like, we've seen you, you're good, go. And go where?
How do I get out? I don't want to stay here. How do I get
I
out of
don't
here?
want to be here.
Oh my God.
I know it. If you ever came, I'd be like,
Oh
oh, Jill, you need
no.
someone to go with you. Like, tie a string to the door that you came in
Oh
at.
my God. Oh my God. Literally, it's almost like I would say, like, don't you need like follow the yellow brick road or something? Because I'm like, I don't. Luckily, when I go to the doctor here, it's through UCLA Health. And luckily, they have you go in one way and you have to exit another. But thank
Yeah.
God they were kind of like, and the exit is this way. They have some signs and stuff like that. But oh my God. I mean, even then, though, I'm still like, say, this is just, I'm directionally challenged. So with or without menopause. But say the sign says go this way.
Yeah.
I'll still end up going that way. And they'll be like, no, you need to go back that way. And I'll be like, oh, sorry. I'm a blonde. I'm a blonde. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've always been
Oh,
that way. I'm like, oh my God, I'm
no.
taking the scenic tour, just taking it all in. Oh my God. Went on an interview once at Fox in Century City, and it was this high rise. And for whatever reason, I was at the elevator and I thought I don't know if I was in a hurry, probably because I was in a hurry or something. I don't know. It's probably like I was in between jobs. Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I was working and I went and interviewed whatever and then needed to get back. But I decided I was like, you know what? I'll just take the stairwell down. So I
Yeah.
go into the stairwell, and this is before cell phones. And I go in the stairwell and I get down where I'm supposed to go or whatever. The door won't open. And I'm like, oh my God, I am trapped. Like that is a big, I'm not claustrophobic, but boy, that is where I was like panic set in. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I was like pulling, pulling, pulling. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then out of nowhere, like the Wizard of Oz, I hear, ma'am, step away from the door. Ma'am, step away from the door. And there's like this, I don't know, like it's through the intercom, it's security. And they're like, then they told me where to go. And I'm sure I can visualize them like seeing me like frantic, again, crazy blonde woman going, oh my God, I'm stuck in here. What am I going to do? Oh my God. And there's no,
Oh,
like, even if I think, even if there was, if I had, I don't think I had a cell phone then, but even if you do, sometimes it's not going to work in the stairwell. So it's like
yeah.
nowadays when I'm like, do I really want to go in that stairwell? You know?
Yeah. I do want to say that that we had a fire drill or something when we worked at E, and it was a big high rise on Wilshire
Oh
Boulevard. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how
Yeah.
big compared to others, but anyway. And I kind of feel like it was that building that once you got into the stairwell, the only place that the stairwell allowed you to go was out onto the ground floor. Like none
Yes.
of the other doors would
Yeah.
open from the stairwell. And
Hmm.
and I remember trying thinking, "Oh, I'm tired of waiting for the elevator. I'm just going to take the stairs because I'm thinking I'm not lazy. I'm young. I can take the stairs." And then I took the stairs. I was trapped in the stairwell, and the only thing I could do is go all the way down to the bottom and out the door. I'm like, okay, so maybe there's a reason no one takes the stairs. That's just stupid.
It is. And then you got to go right back to the elevator to
Still
go.
gotta go. Now it's gonna take even longer.
Yes. You're like, I thought I was doing the right thing here. It's like, oh my God.
I
And you're
swear
like,
I'm smart. Why do I feel like I have to constantly find a way to prove it to someone?
I agree. Because don't you feel like sometimes at those times you're like, and these days they probably are, you feel like there's cameras on you where they're like, they're just laughing away. They're like, ha ha,
We can
got her.
open this door, but we're not going to.
Yep.
This is a show and we
Yep.
haven't got anything interesting to watch.
Yep. Yep. Oh my God. You're almost like a little crap like mouse or something where you're just like, oh my God. It's like that is just it's crazy. And I go, but it's like it's so funny because we're not weird. We're just real people.
Yeah, we're not weird. We should have come up with a word for this before we started the show because I can't think of anything.
We're
But I
just
have,
fun people.
yeah, we are fun
Yeah,
people. But
we are
also,
fun.
okay, so let me just interrupt. Look at the camera so I can say, people, here's the thing. Jill and I were like, let's do a show. Okay. Kitty finally agreed. Jill was like, this will be great. Kitty, the podcaster who likes to have everything planned and organized and whatever, was like, we need to decide what the length is going to be. And I'm pretty sure that it was you, Jill, who said, like around a half an hour. And I thought, I don't know if Jill and I can have a half an hour conversation. So I said, how about no less than 30, no more than 60 minutes. And Jill was like, that sounds like a great idea. And I said, okay, so at some point, this is before we started this episode, right now today, at some point when we feel like, well, we've probably said everything we can think of to say for today, and we want to save stuff for future episodes. So when we kind of come to a lull in the conversation, one of us can look at the clock and go, oh, okay, well, it's been between 30 and 60 minutes, so we should wrap up. I'm looking at the clock, Jill. It's been something like 70 minutes. We really need to let these people get off the treadmill. So, yeah,
Oh
I
my
don't know what to tell you, everyone. Episode 2 could be 27 minutes because we're terrified that we're going to keep you walking, 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 walking at the gym. And you're going to be like, I'm so tired. Why did I tell myself I would listen to this podcast until while I'm on the treadmill until it's over? Yeah,
oh my gosh. Well, it's been a joy. It's
it
been a joy.
has. And
Yes.
clearly
Oh
we
my
have plenty
God.
more to say, so we will be doing more episodes.
We will be definitely doing more episodes. And this is why we call this Gabbing with Stories, right?
Yes,
Gabbing.
gabbing about stories.
Oh, Gabbing about stories. Get
It's
it right
about
now.
something.
Oh my God. And I don't even drink. I'm like, get it right. It's gabbing about stories. We always have stories. And thank God, though. Thank God we have stories. And, it's like, oh my gosh. And well, we have lots more for next time,
Yes.
definitely. But we hope you've enjoyed our first episode of our podcast, Gabbing with Stories. And we'll be
Gabbing
gabbing more
about
soon.
stories.
Gabbing
Gabbing
about stories.
about.
Let me say that again. I'm so sorry.
Jill's
Okay.
like, I just want to use the word gabbing and stories for sure.
Yeah. Gabbing about stories. So, but we do really, really hope that you've enjoyed this. And we really want to welcome you in. We're very, like, again, I like to always say this, even though we don't live in the Midwest anymore, we have those Midwest values and we're very warm, inviting, and welcoming. And we welcome you we hope you've enjoyed our first episode and we will be gabbing about stories, right? Gabbing about stories. Yeah,
Yes,
very, very soon. Very soon. And we assure you there will always be laughter. There will
there
always,
will.
by God, there will always be laughter and
Even
stories.
even through menopause, there's no way we could get through it without laughing.
Without laughing. Oh my God. It's the best medicine ever.
It is. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.